Hello Ascension Seekers. Welcome or welcome back if you viewed our previous introduction or initial What Are You video. I'm Bryan Anthony Moore, and I'll be your host for this session of More Ascension. More Ascension is on the light path of creating more opportunity for ascension. In our introduction video, I said I would present known information for you to assess from an ascension perspective. And we touched on what ascension is and very generally what I believe you need to do to ascend. If you hang around until the end of this video series, you may affirm, reaffirm, learn, relearn, or determine something about yourself and what you truly are. Thank you if you watched part 1 of our What Are You video. If you watched that video until the end, you found that we suggested an ascension activity. If you had a chance to define or feel you already know what you are at your highest level, you are woke and on the path to being awake, and I'll be clearing up the difference very shortly. Or you may be awake and ready to share some light with us. If not, you should definitely consider doing that exercise. It's not for our ascension, it's for you and your ascension. You need not share it with us, it's for your use. Why should you do this? As humans, we are big belief systems, and all we know comes from people we decide to believe, and through success of their tutelage begin to trust. So who do you trust? What about Stevie Wonder? Do you have any belief or trust which equals confidence in what he's trying to tell you? Catch what he's trying to tell you in his blockbuster hit Higher Ground. I'm so darn glad he let me try it again, 'cause the last time on earth I lived a whole world of sin. I'm so glad I know more than I know then. Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. Yes, it's worth a rehearing with the lyrics from an ascension perspective. The links are in the description below. People are trying to wake you up. To ascend or to gain more light, you must replace some darkness or lesser light. Let's go a bit deeper. I want to come back to the examples of Muhammad Ali and Prince from the last video. So could these men have possibly known more about themselves than many people do? Could they have possibly known more about the spirit within them? Do you feel they were men who fully understood the thoughts and the words they used? Do you feel that they knew the impact that those words would have on people? Do you think that their spirit within was well connected with the words they presented externally to the world? My answer is yes. They both were consummate wordsmiths, poets, writers, and performers, and they knew themselves from within. Did you know that Muhammad Ali asked Prince to join him in his support of a racial healing effort?
First of all, I just want to say that it's indeed an honor to be a part of this. My friend Londell McMillan called me a couple days ago and asked me, he said, Muhammad wants you too, and I said yes. I didn't even let him finish. He could have said, mow the lawn, and I'd have been down with it. Muhammad's my hero. He has been since I was a child, and as you can see, he's such an inspiration to many people. And just a little while ago, Mr. Hauser asked me what was my first recollection of Muhammad, and that's a hard question to answer because, as you can see, what he stands for here today, he's sort of a part of all of us, and so I'm really honored to be here, and if this is the only thing I did in my life, I'd be cool with it, you know. Thank you.
No matter what you thought or think of these men, this is how they thought of one another. Their spirits were linked. The full clip of the press conference is linked below. How can one know that one has a spirit within? How can that spirit be detected in today's scientific world? How can that inner spirit be comprehended in today's religious world? Let's begin with the scientific or physical perspective, if you will. We can begin by asking the age-old question. If a tree falls in the forest where there is no one or ear to hear it, does it make sound? Have you pondered this question? If a tree falls in the forest where there is no one or ear to hear it, does it make sound? What's your answer? Yes, of course it makes a sound. Or, no, it doesn't make sound. Well, if you research our senses, you'll find that there is only one correct answer. Our five senses have some type of sensory mechanism that allows something to come into our bodies from outside that enables us to register that something, whatever it is. What registers that something or input? There's a hermetic principle that correlates these understandings. It's called all is mind. And by the way, you're very not likely awake if you don't know the hermetic or universal laws. Almost everything that we sense comes through our sensory organs into our brain or mind. The brain then presents the appropriate understanding to our conscious minds to help us to determine our next activity. Wikipedia's definition of brain is, the human brain is the central organ of the human nervous system, and with the spinal cord makes up the central nervous system. The brain consists of the cerebrum, the brainstem, and the cerebellum. It controls most of the activities of the body, processing, integrating, and coordinating the information it receives from the sense organs, and making decisions as to the instructions sent to the rest of the body. The brain is contained in and protected by the skull bones of the head. I will remind or provide you with known information of how the mind and body complex works regarding sensory organs and processes. Let's discuss the mind-body connection. So, let's go back to that age-old question. If a tree falls in the forest where there's no one or ear to hear it, does it make sound? The correct answer to this age-old question is no, it does not make sound. Let's break this subject down a bit more. Google's definition of sound is a vibration that travels through the air or another medium and can be heard when they reach a person or animal's ear. So no sound is made. What is made is vibration. That's correct. No sound is made. What is made is vibration. We previously lightly discussed words and their positive versus negative frequency and vibration, and their polarization on a certain scale of words. Words generate a positive, neutral, or negative vibration or frequency. This was visually proven by Dr. Masaru Emoto in his profound work on water and information retention, and we'll get much more into this in a later video. Now we're discussing vibration with sound. All is mind means that without a mind informing you of what the input or vibration received is, you would not know what it was. What was your automatic response to that sound? Aliens. You likely thought it was a spaceship landing. You've been programmed to know that through movies. And it's in your mind. All is mind. Let's explore this concept, all is mind, through our five senses. Let's continue with the understanding of sound. Sound is what we're told we hear. And we hear it through our ears. Again, Google's definition of sound is vibration that travels through the air or another medium and can be heard when they reach a person or animal's ear. Sound waves travel into the ear canal until they reach the eardrum. The eardrum passes the vibrations through the middle ear bones into the inner ear, is shaped like a snail and is called the cochlea. Inside the cochlea, there are thousands of tiny hair cells. Hair cells change the vibrations into electrical signals that are sent to the brain through the hearing nerve. The brain tells you that you are hearing a sound and what that sound is based on the electrical signals converted from your auditory sensory input. Unknown sounds, like the eerie sound played earlier, require more context to enable you to know what that sound is the next time you hear it. It could take several times hearing that new sound and assessing the context around the new sound before you can know what it is. That is the physical mechanism that enables you to hear what is flowing to you now. Please let me know if you know differently. So, no sound is made if a tree falls in the floor where there is no one or ear to hear it. Vibration is made. Vibration only becomes sound inside your brain, usually through your ears. Let's continue to explore all is mind a bit more. Let's take sight for our next sensory organ. Sight is based on how the eyes work. All the different parts of your eyes work together to enable you to see. First, light passes through the cornea, the clear front layer of the eye. The cornea is shaped like a dome and bends light to help the eye focus. Some of this light enters the eye through an opening called the pupil. The iris, the colored part of the eye, controls how much light the pupil lets in. Next, light passes through the lens, a inner clear part of the eye. The lens works together with the cornea to focus light correctly on the retina. When the light hits the retina, which is a light-sensitive layer of tissue at the back of the eye, special cells called photoreceptors turn the light into electrical signals. These electrical signals travel from the retina through the optic nerve to the brain. The brain turns the signals into the images you see. Vibration or light becomes sight inside your brain. There are some extra-dimensional or extrasensory qualities of sight. Have you ever seen what you would describe as a ghost or spirit? Were other people around that could or couldn't see what you saw? Have you ever had a dream? Of course. A major sensation of most dreams is sight. Are you able to remember seeing people, things, activities while your eyes were closed and you were unconscious? From where was the visuals coming? Where was the light coming from to engage your eye organ and tell your brain what it was? Then have you ever been in a dream where you were seeing and then went blind? What the heck is going on there? Then the brain turns the signals into the images you see. Vibration or light becomes sight inside your brain. That is the physical mechanism that enables you to see what's in front of you now. Please let me know if you know differently. And a note, some of us have a man-made lens reshapers to assist us with eye focus. Please don't hold it against us. So let's continue exploring all is mind with a sense of taste. Taste is a bit more complex. The final step in perceiving taste is transferred to the nervous system. This is done by several cranial nerves. All information is carried along the cranial nerves to part of the lower section of the brainstem called the medulla oblongata. At that point, there's a split. Some of the fibers carry taste signals together with signals from other sensory perceptions like pain, temperature, or touch through several exchange points to consciousness. The other fibers pass over these exchange points of consciousness and lead directly to the part of the brain that are connected with the sensory perception, which are responsible for securing our survival. Have you ever quit eating some food that you liked or loved, and after some time passed, did you ever get a flashback, where you recall the taste and usually surroundings of eating that food you quit? Or, as you know, your tongue has feel sensory too. Have you ever put something in your mouth that you had to immediately spit out? Information, as vibration, becomes taste inside your brain. It is there that taste signals are then combined with different smell signals. So, let's touch on smell, so to speak. Your ability to smell comes from specialized sensory cells called olfactory sensory neurons, which are found in a small patch of tissue high inside the nose. These cells connect directly to the brain. Vibration becomes smell in your brain. Smell is like taste in the flashback category. It triggers memories and can bring you to a full stop. Is a pattern forming regarding all is mind? Let's discuss the sensation of feel and touch. From the limbs through the skin, we have the sensation of feeling from touching. Signals are sent to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, the signals head to the thalamus, which relays signals to areas of the cerebral cortex, transforming messages into conscious experience. There are only 4 types of skin sensations: pressure, cold, warmth, and pain. Have you ever felt something that you can't see touch you? Or even the natural tendency or sensation to look around if you feel someone is staring at you, and then you see them staring at you or quickly turning their head? It's really even more WOT or way out there than that. Science is finding that we are never really ever touch anything, never at the subatomic level. Vibration becomes touch or feeling inside your brain. So let's summarize our 5 major sensory processes. 1, we receive vibration, light, or information from a sensory organ. 2, our brain processes it and tells us what we just experienced, hopefully instantaneously. And 3, we use the output as input into the next process or activity. And the next process can be very interesting depending on what just happened, right? We understand our reality based on what our brain tells us our reality is. An untrained or child's brain has many more unknowns than a trained or adult brain, hopefully. So, let's discuss other things that can affect our minds, bodies, and spirits. There are many types of inputs that act specifically on the body. For example, viruses and bacteria and medicines, though medicines can also affect the mind and the spirit. So, your experiences, science says, are presented to you from your brain based on the input, light, vibrations, and sensory that it gets from your sensory organs and processes. So you don't actually know what you are seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, or tasting is really what's there. You can only say that your brain knows what it's there and is reliably telling you what it is. But does it always? Or does it know what should be there? Let's go back to hypnosis. One who is under hypnosis can have fire applied to their skin and seem not to feel it. And there are many examples. The point is, the brain can be manipulated to have the person do actions that they're then told not to remember. And they don't remember. But over time, they can overcome these directives, like, for example, quitting smoking. What is the mechanism that is overcoming the hypnosis of the brain or mind? Another very interesting phenomenon we now know is when someone who has lost a limb may be found to have what's called phantom feelings. That's when, in the area of the lost limb for some amount of time, the person still feels the sensation of the limb still being there. The sensation is known to wear off over time. The feeling is experienced where the removed limb was once part of the body complex. Another example is transplant recipients. Transplant recipients have been known to miraculously acquire characteristics of the organ donor that the recipient never had prior to the transplant. These are a further indication that our composition is more complicated and nuanced than we have remembered or been led to believe. So what is the entity or component of their makeup that's being felt? It can't be the body. Since it's usually an unexpected or unwanted sensation, it can't be the mind, or we would have more control over it. Only the spirit is left. It's still in control. Also, you could alter your brain in some way. For instance, with alcohol or drugs. And did you know that accidentally mixing certain prescription drugs can also alter your reality? Quite a bit. The substance could make your brain perceive and tell you you are experiencing something very different than what you would usually experience in those circumstances. You could be seeing people, objects that aren't seen by other people, but are very real to you. But something within you would still be telling you something is wrong, and it would be trying to change its status, wouldn't it? So the you that you have come to believe and identify so strongly with may not be the real you. What we know is that the brain is communicating what you perceive based on the sensory input you are receiving or believing based on how the brain has been programmed to respond in the situation. So please do your own research, but not all of it, actually on yourself. Don't cut off any limb, experiment with mixing drugs. Please only read about some of it. Are you the person who only believes the input that your 5 senses can perceive? Do you still believe you have the highest truth about what you truly are? Let's discuss the mind and the body to the spirit connection. Let's now approach the subject a bit from the perspective of religion and how this could relate to the religious doctrine that states, "And God blew his breath into man, and he became a living spirit or soul," from Genesis 2:7. And I'm not going to wade into the spirit versus soul argument here, so I use both terms. Also, Ezekiel, John, Luke, Paul all mention the spirit being in man in books attributed to them in the Bible. Amongst other definitions, the Cambridge Dictionary defines spirit as, quote, "the characteristics of a person that are considered as being separate from the body, and that many religions and philosophies believe continue to exist after the body dies." Also, the Quran mentions the spirit in man. The source is Joseph A. Islam. What is the Quranic role of spirit? Surah 15 verse 29 states, "So when I have fashioned him in due proportion and breathed into him of my spirit, fall ye down in obedience to him," unquote. Surah 32 verse 9 quotes, "Then he fashioned him in due proportion and breathed into him something of his spirit. And he gave you the faculties of hearing and sight and feeling and understanding. Little things do ye give." Hindu has a term for one spirit or soul from Wikipedia. That term is Atman. Atman is the Sanskrit word that means inner self, spirit, or soul. In Hindu philosophy, especially in the Vedanta school of Hinduism, Atman is the first principle, the true self of an individual beyond identification with phenomena, the essence of the individual. Many other religions and spiritual practices may not refer to the deity putting its essence directly into man. Their practices have the spirit embodied in the nature or ancestors that directly influence the activities of man. What do the Agala Sioux call the Great Spirit? In Lakota spirituality, Wakantanka. Wakantanka is a term for the sacred or the divine. This is usually translated as the Great Spirit and occasionally as the Great Mystery. This term describes every creature and object as wankan or holy, or having aspects that are wankan. So, I would suppose this includes man. In the book The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, in the supplementary Emerald Tablets 14 on page 44, it states, quote, "Ka is the shadow that man knows is life. Ba cometh not until Ka is incarnate." This supposes that the physical body complex Ka must be formed to the degree that it can accept the spirit complex or Ba. When you're ready, we'll definitely be diving into the Emerald Tablets. This is also being validated biologically as more research is done in this field. It is accepted by many that a higher deity blew or put something from inside of itself to inside of us as man to enable us to become Homo sapiens sapient, right? Is this not almost universally agreed upon by humans on Earth? So, where is this spirit that was put inside of us? Why is it needed? What does it do? Is the brain and the spirit the same thing? It's been strongly presented through the research of ancient texts that the human embryo in the brain was formed before God or a higher being blew or put a life element into man. It seems that the brain was already formed, but more was needed for humans to become the humans we are today. Now, let's go a bit deeper into the spirit. Input or vibration can also impact or alter the spirit. One can have been known to have lost their spirit after some great loss or tragedy. One could also be able to stay awake for long periods of time after some exceptionally good event has occurred. In these and other cases, the mind and the body seem to follow the spirit. So, we believe there is a very strong case to be made that the thing that you believe is you and that is alive is something that is alive inside of your mind and body complex, put there by the highest deity you believe in. It is your spirit or soul. So tell me, is it the brain or the spirit that is the basic controller that is inside of you, taking sensory input and responding as expected in most cases? And the access to that you is through your five senses, via your sensory organs in your brain. So again, please do your own research. Again, if you are a person who only believes the input from your five senses, do you still believe you have the highest truth about what you really are? You may recall it's very hard to change a mind that has knowledge through its experience. This discussion shows that there are three distinct components of our experience or reality: the mind, the body, and the spirit. We've discussed how the body communicates with the brain or mind to enable the perception of our experiences, and how the spirit can impact the body and mind. So now let's revisit the initial question: what are you? Yes, there are still many ways to answer this question, and ultimately you are what you believe you are, and that belief drives what you are and what you can and will become. If you think you're weak, you'll be weak no matter how many reps you do. If you believe you're a genius, you'll act as if you're a genius no matter what your grades were or what other people tell you. So be very careful of what you believe, as you will be exactly that. The only thing worse than having a bad belief about yourself is having no belief about yourself. And that's when you basically go wherever the blowing wind or a strong voice takes you. So, what are you? You are basically a spirit of the Creator on a human experience. Everything after that is up to you, based on how you evaluate and utilize your inputs or catalysts. Question: what are you at the highest level of our third density or dimensional reality? You are a spirit or a soul that is connected to a human body on a human experience. So if these sensory organs send input to our brain, and it provides experience back to us, and thoughts and words and substance can change the perception and experience, is it possible that we can more purposely send input into our own brains to program it to understand things differently, more in a way that is more beneficial to us? So let's get into the beginning of the mind to spirit connection. In the Law of One, the raw material, which I follow, in discussing becoming an effective healer, the body and mind complex are discussed first. Then the material states, quote, the third area is the spiritual complex, which embodies the fields of force and consciousness, which are the least distorted of your mind-body-spirit complex. The explanation and balancing of the spirit complex is indeed the longest and most subtle part of your learning teaching. It further states, we have considered the mind as a tree. The mind controls the body. With the mind single-pointed, balanced, and aware, the body comfortable in whatever biases and distortion makes it appropriately balanced for that instrument. The instrument, that's you, is then ready to proceed with the greater work. That's from the Law of One, Book 1 of Raw Material, page 89. The mind controls the body. Then you can begin the work of the spirit. PBS had done a documentary decades ago on the mind map of the body. It was likely done in the 80s, and I searched forever for that film, but I couldn't find it. But I never gave up searching, including writing WTTW in Chicago. I came upon the information in a website, Scientists Map What the Brain Sees as Our Body. And it stands to reason that our brain map sees the area with the most sensory neurons as being the bigger parts of our bodies. For continuity's sake, the initial PBS image didn't look quite as nice as this one. So, we basically have a bodysuit that our spirit or soul is driving until it's time for it to leave. On the most basic mind, body, spirit level, this is what we are. One way to directly influence your mind, body, spirit to benefit you is to meditate. And there's no one or best way to meditate. If you've not already naturally begun to meditate, however you are able to clear your mind naturally is how you should meditate. And however you are able to focus your mind naturally is how you should focus intently on resolutions. To ascend, you must know thyself. To begin this ascension work, 1. Please consider actually doing the ascension work described at the end of the What Are You Part 1 video to self-define what you are. 2. Go within and meditate. Find a quiet place. Sit with your back straight if that's possible. Close your eyes. Focus only on your breathing or your heartbeat. And once you get relaxed, ask yourself what you truly are at your very essence. Try to visualize yourself from a separate mind, body, spirit acting as one. And be as open as you can for a response during or after the meditation. Write down any feelings or inputs you feel may have come as a result of this work. Meditate and ask for confirmation that what you received is for you. If you are diligent, you'll get answers. 3. Seek the highest truth. While in meditation, ask the deity you align with to send you the highest truth. You may be directed to a book or a person or a website that will confirm or challenge your current knowledge. This is the direction for further research. And 4. Follow your inner guidance. Trust that whatever is put in front of you is what you need to research. Ascension comes in steps and stages, unless you do ayahuasca or mushrooms or something like that, which I still can't recommend because I have no experience with them. Have you decided to continue with us on our fundamental journey of ascension? I promise we'll be getting to the WOT stuff soon. As we present more information, if it vibrates with you on any dimension, hit that like button if you want more ascension. Subscribe if your intention is to gain more ascension. Hit that bell to stay out of trouble. And please feel free to share with another you feel will care. We are more ascension. Please join us.